Hey everyone, welcome to the BGP Game Dev Vlogs, where I talk about everything going on in BGP Game Dev and my projects. Today's topic is going to be the origin of Popcorn Rocket and how it came to be. Popcorn Rocket first came about in 2017 as part of my Twitch channel. I wanted to show that I was broadcasting video games from outer space, and decided to combine my love of popcorn and the Dragon Ball Z Capsule Corp spaceship to make the original Popcorn Rocket. The original Popcorn Rocket was made by my friend Randy, who did all the main artwork for all my books. I also used the Popcorn Rocket in my now defunct Amazon Prime version of Awesome Video Game Memories, which are now all here on the channel as video compilations. I portrayed myself as the captain of the Popcorn Rocket traveling in space to talk about video games. When I was deciding to get back into game dev in the fall of 2021 after experiencing massive burnout from doing game reviews, I was jotting down a lot of game ideas and decided to go with something simple as my first commercial game attempt. So I thought to myself, why not actually make a game based on the Popcorn Rocket? So the original idea for Popcorn Rocket was to have me flying in space in the Popcorn Rocket and blasting away at bad guys. Sadly, the original idea never moved past this state for a few reasons. One, I don't think I would make a very interesting protagonist, and people might not like the whole self-insert yourself as the hero thing in a game. Second, I probably don't want Toei Animation suing me for ripping off the Capsule Corp spaceship design, so I had to make something completely original. Now I ran into a big problem. I'm not exactly great at drawing, and I confess while I do have an overactive imagination and I consider myself a decently adequate storyteller, also my childhood dream was to make games, I never really came up with original characters and settings of my own. I would always imagine that I was Link exploring the forest, or Mega Man blasting away at the bad guys. When I was a kid, I went to this place called Hearst Castle in California on a family trip, and you can only imagine all of the Castlevania references I made to my cousins during the trip, since I pretended to be Ryan Belmont's Vampire Hunter. However, I never really made my own characters like Bob the Cat. I was always inserting myself or pretending to be somebody else's characters, which is completely fine, but I never really made anything original. My first game in 1999, Attack of the Saiyajin, was a Dragon Ball Z RPG, and the only original thing I came up with was the planet Zogat, and maybe I'll reuse that for another game. And I mentioned this in another vlog, but my original goal with game development was to work for a company like Blizzard, since I live pretty close to it, and work on Warcraft 4, which probably will never happen at this rate, and I gave up game development in 2006 after experiencing some really bad and condescending programming teachers in college, and I didn't return to game development for another 15 years until 2021. And it wasn't until Battle Geek Plus started in 2011 where I finally made some original characters like Kung Quan Todd, Jimmy Buckrider, Totally Tubular Tim, and more. And who knows, maybe I'll make games based on these characters who I haven't done anything with for so long, but we'll see. So Popcorn Rocket was my very first attempt at original character and vehicle design. Even though I can't draw for crap, I'm fairly adequate at Photoshop, so I finally took the plunge into designing my own characters. I was speaking to a friend on how to hire artists, since he always gets art of his original characters, aka OCs, made, and he advised me to make the descriptions as thorough as possible and to provide examples, and since I know how to use Photoshop, I was able to come up with mock-ups of the characters. The first character I came up with was Colonel, whose original name was Captain Colonel, but I thought calling him Colonel would be a funnier joke, because you say it twice. Although the rank of Colonel doesn't really make sense for a mercenary leader, and Captain makes more sense like Captain Han Solo, and I wanted a more goofy serial mascot look for all the characters, so I didn't go with an anime or a comic book inspired look. I wanted Colonel to look a lot like Captain Crunch, and I'll show you some of the original concept photoshops I made for the characters. For the crew like Shipman Butters, Engineer Salt Shaker, and Navigator Nachos, I took the suits from Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin Space Journey and modified them to look more red, and forgive my, terrible drawings. For the actual Popcorn Rocket design, I wanted it to look simple with the colors associated with popcorn, which are, red, white, and yellow. So I found this awesome artist on Fiverr named siridhata from Indonesia, who's really nice and incredibly talented, and he did all the main Popcorn Rocket art, and at the time of this video, he's still working on some Popcorn Rocket art, which you will see in the main game. And I also hired another artist named mniluka, who did the Popcorn Rocket insignia. And for the sprites, I found an awesome sprite artist from Mexico named frazzcos, who did all of the main ship sprites, and another artist named filthydrawings, who did all the weapon sprites, and I'll be providing links to their Fiverr pages in the description below. Now for the villains, I originally was going to call the main bad guys the Pi Empire, or the Empire, and the main leader was going to be a parody of Emperor Palpatine called Emperor Palpatine, but since I wanted the bad guys to consist of other food groups, I didn't want to be just limited to pies. And I remembered my old friend Bill did a villain called Dr. Nebula from our long defunct Battle Geek Plus Adventure series, which ended after 10 episodes episodes, and Nebula sounded neutral enough, so I went with that. However, in 2014, Bill got married and he had kids, so he had to leave BattleGeek Plus to pursue a real life, and sadly I've barely been in contact with him since then. So now our villains were called the Nebula Empire, and I parodied a lot of the different designs of the Star Wars Imperial generals like Krennic from Rogue One for First Lieutenant Fiber, and Kylo Ren's Praetorian Guards for Major Metabolism, along with Admiral Thrawn for General Gluten. And the only non-Imperial type bad guy was the Cookieroid monster, only because I wanted a giant cookie monster like boss in the game. And I came up with Cholesterol Commander since I bought the entire G.I. Joe DVD set and the movie from Amazon for cheap, and I was on a huge G.I. Joe binge and I immediately wanted a Cobra Commander type villain in the game, so I came up with Cholesterol Commander. And coming up with the ships was really fun because I wanted to make them all based on different types of food, and I had so many crazy ideas that I couldn't really use them all, so whenever I do the Popcorn Rocket sequels, I still have a plethora of unused ideas I can borrow from. And obviously I based so many of the ships off the Star Wars ships like the Pie Fighters, the Pumpkin Interceptors, the Blueberry Bombers, and the Slice Destroyers. So that explains the entire origin of Popcorn Rocket and how it came to be, and in another vlog I'm going to be talking about the current progress of Popcorn Rocket after one whole year of working on it, and I'll also be doing various other vlogs in the future on my experience making and programming the game. So if you have any other questions, make sure to leave those in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next BGP Game Dev vlog. Take care, gamers! Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to check out these other videos, and also make sure to follow me on social media and check out the official BattleGeek Plus website. Take care.